Yeah, calisthenics number 12. Yeah. Fly robotics. Bifocals, my only purpose is to feed the locals. I'm spreading love when I see you and gotta approach you. I see the goodness in you, I wouldn't John with you. I know you hustling for your family just to pay the fiscal. I see the God up in you, He bless your physical. While we navigating problems, the world is abysmal. Skip the one up, let's get it to the center. Your house is big as mine, we can always help each other. Affirmation smother, it ain't even cost me a dime to uplift my brother.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Vulnerability is the New Sexy. This is the podcast where we break down all the walls, challenge all the stigmas, and we brace the power of being open and honest and where vulnerability can lead you. I am your host, Joe Corley. As you can see, I'm a black male. And if you know me by now, you know I'm also a therapist. So I'm a black male therapist dedicated to guiding our community towards healing and growth. And that's totally what the conversation is about tonight. And we're going to do that by introducing my panel here. We got my good sis, Erica, and, Erica Lewis, author of Faith in Transition. My brother, Big Mac. Y'all recognize him from the streets and the gas station.
I'm all over.
All over. And my boy Khalil, man. How you doing tonight, man? How y'all doing?
I'm blessed. Thank y'all for having me.
I'm happy for y'all to be here, man. I really thought this was an important conversation. I want to encourage the audience, and I'm going to say this repeatedly, you know what I mean, to approach this conversation with empathy and openness. We're not here to go back and forth. We're not here to contribute to the gender wars. We're not here to argue or debate about which gender is better or none of that. I think that we are all very intelligent people, and we are trying to figure out, what's the best way to gain some understanding for each other. We have to be real. We have to be honest. And we're trying to have a nuanced conversation, a respectful conversation about the gender wars in the black community, because, as the thumbnail says, divided we fall, and we are falling and we are divided, and it's not doing us any good. So the first thing I want to start out with is I want to, show the video that inspired me to have this conversation, and then we'll talk more about it on the other side. Let me just share this with y'all. A snippet of it.
You disrespect the hard-working men with a blue collar. Too busy looking for a baller. Cause you only date baller shot collars, but you don't qualify for the man that you desire. You call my preferences biased, but ma'am, what exactly is your 6-foot requirement? Listen, go get you a young submissive girl somewhere on the other side of the world. Now you're a sugar daddy, you're a lick. You're a lick like sugar on a stick. You made bad decisions, now men ain't ish. No, you ain't ish. You put yourself in that predicament. Always talking about be his peace. He needs therapy. Don't try to put that job on me.
Listen, what I'm observing that to be is this young artist, and I want to give her credit. I encourage everybody to go watch the video in full on her YouTube page. Oh, my banner's in the way. You can't see her YouTube page. I can't, honestly don't know how to remove the banner, but I'll figure out a way to remove this banner later and make sure that I show her YouTube page and her Instagram. And because it's important that she gets her credit for the work that she's doing. And if that young lady happens to watch this, I apologize. I'm not a StreamYard expert yet, so I don't know how to remove that banner, but we'll try to figure it out before the end of the show. But anyway, when we talk about unity in the black community, especially between men and women, Miss Erica, I want to start with you. What does that actually mean for you?
I'm sorry. Vulnerability. Say that again. I'm sorry. Somebody walked in and interrupted my train of thought. What were you saying?
I was saying that when you hear about unity in the black community, especially between men and women, what does that mean to you? Like, what do you think the purpose of it is?
Oh my God. It takes me back to being a kid, unity in the community, when there was love in the community, when there were cookouts, when there was block parties, when the DJ would pull out the speakers and we could just be free as kids and just roam and run and jump and play. And even though my mother may not be home, Miss Jackson across the street, she was home, and her husband, he was the neighborhood mechanic, and he was the uncle to all the kids. And when it came down time for Halloween and back to school, he was out there giving the candy to the kids and doing the backpack drive. To me, that's what unity is. That's what unity was for me. Things have changed. Life has changed. How those changes have come about, I am completely perplexed and confused. I don't know how we've gotten to this place where we can't even stand to be in a room with each other and have a conversation about how we got to this place. I really don't understand how we've gone from unity to a level of division where we can't even sit and talk about why we're divided. So yeah, unity for me is, it's love. It's
Yeah.
love, and the love within our community is gone.
And before I move on to somebody else, how do you feel? How do we need each other? Why do you
As men
think we
and
need?
women,
Yes. Why do you
as
think we
as
need
men
each
and
other?
women.
Yeah.
Oh my God, one thing that disturbs me, and I've never said this as a woman, I hate to hear women say, I don't need a man. We do need men. We do need men. Let I'm going to say it again in case any woman is confused. Sis, we do need men. They serve a purpose, as we all serve a purpose. And it's not about who's going to cook, who's going to clean, who's going to take out the garbage, who's going to do this. It's about the non tangible that men can bring, that women can bring to the table. It's by being able to have that conversation with the person of the opposite sex and get their perspective and get their view. It's about being protected, and not always physically protected to keep you from harm, but honestly, to sometimes as women to protect us from ourselves. I have
Hmm.
a friend of mine, she was hell bent on going on a trip, and the guy she was dating, he was like, "Listen, that doesn't sound like a good idea. It's a whole bunch of women going on this trip, not one man. You putting yourselves out there." And honestly, when they got what they got, she probably should have listened to him.
Yeah.
Passports got lost. So men have unctions too. They get, the spirit world will talk to them too. Men have wisdom too. Men have vision too. So we need men for the protection sometimes of ourselves, getting a man's point of view. There is nothing like sitting down talking to a man to hear what he has to say, because men a lot of times are quiet in situations, but when a man is going to give you some input and some insight, you better grab a pen and some paper and write it down, because he's giving you food for thought. He's dropping gems. And I think a lot of women are repel that, so to speak, because many women didn't grow up with their dads, and they don't know what it's like to have a man say, "Sit down, let me talk to you about something. Have a seat, let me, hear me out, just hear me out." And after a while, if you keep pushing a man away or you don't want to hear what he's going to say, he's going to stop talking. And as the great poet 50 Cent once said, people don't hear you until you stop talking.
Mm, mm, mm. All truth right there. Big Mac, I'm gonna go up to you, Mr. Machiavelli, man. Tell me, when you hear unity between black men and black women, what does it mean to you?
Oh man, it's been so long since I've been seeing a lot of unity going on in the culture and in our relationships. Like you said, the gender war going on, but unity to me was just about family. I mean, this was before the money craze started to hit the community. Before the red bottoms start stumping on the ground, and before the bags were being purchased. We were more concentrated on coming together as family, and like Erica said, with the love, just wanting to be around one another, show each other love, do things for one another, come together as a community and build. And that has gotten lost in this day and age. But and that's why it's one against the other right now, because it's like we scavengers out here, and everybody's trying to get a dollar or two and get one up on the other, and then you know, with the money, of course, sometimes comes the big ego. So, you know, everybody off in their own corners right now, and defending themselves and throwing shots at one another. But unity was the base foundation of our community, going back all the way to the 60s, to the slavery days, and so forth and so on. And we all was a big community. It wasn't just like my family; it was your family on the block, my family down the street, someone else's family down the street. Miss whoever in the church. I mean, everybody was coming together and building something and looking out for one another. But now, you know, it seems like, you know, we just standoffish in our mind and in reality, you know, physically. So, you know, hopefully we could get that back. But unity to me means, you know, coming together as family and looking out for one another. And, you know, that way, you know, we're stronger together than apart.
Yeah. You know, I don't really remember when it started getting like this, honestly. I don't remember growing up listening to black men and black women attack each other so aggressively all the time. I don't know if it was the rise of social media or what that got us to this point where we're starting out loud to just basically out in the public attack each other and you know, devalue ourselves in this way. It gets frustrating every time. I hate to see women feel like they have to go on the defensive, men feeling like they have to go on the defensive, and constantly having those conversations. In the meantime, you know, the outside world is just attacking us both. And you know, like I said, man, divided we fall. But brother Khalil, man, let me ask you, man, when you hear black, you know, unity between black men and women, what comes about for you?
Yeah. You know, I'm 24, so I'm looking at it from a little bit of a different perspective.
100%.
But the one thing that I can say when I think of unity is I think of my grandparents, who've been together for, you know, 40 plus years, and you know how they collaborate with each other, how there's a lot of understanding and empathy between the both. It's mutual respect. There's not, oh, he's a man, he does this is his responsibility, or she's a woman, this is what you're supposed to do. It's just kind of whatever will make life easier for the both of us. And I can kind of see, I see that in just how they interact, you know, which is why I feel they've been together for so long and been able to work and grow together, you know, throughout the years, even despite of the social media and, you know, the outside noise, you know, what we so call, I guess you could say, our gender roles, but not necessarily. So yeah, man, when I think of unity, I just think of, you know, collaboration, showing empathy, you know, mutual respect between both people, and just ultimately making each other's lives easier by any means necessary. And so that's kind of my take on unity.
Okay. Man, when you think about, you know, you mentioned you was 24. When you think about your generation, you have to look all the way to your grandparents to see that unity, man. What's the conversation like amongst you know, you and your friends, man, when it comes
It's
to,
scary.
do
It's
y'all even talk
scary
about
out here.
black women? Do y'all even talk about that?
Yeah, we do, and it's not even just black women, but black men as well on both ends. You know, it's scary out here, especially in my generation. Just the mindset that we have and kind of how we move. Specifically, I seen a post today. A guy, what did he say? He said, "They all say if one won't do it, the next one will." You know, and I feel like with this generation, us as men, we're kind of so easily persuaded to go on to the next, you know, thinking it's something out here better for us, thinking it's another woman who can do what this woman did, if not better. When in reality, like I say, I look at my grandparents as a reference. I don't, you know, if there's something that my woman can work on, I try to do what I can to help her work on that, and we work on that together, you know, and if we can fix it, we'll come to a mutual understanding and we fix it. But one thing about us is we're gonna work through it. You know, that's just speaking for myself. Now, of course, not every 24-year-old thinks how I think, but I can only speak from, you know, my experience.
Yeah. I'm just, I know how you are. I know how you move, but I'm like wondering how you view the men around you and the young ladies around you, man. What do you
Right.
see from them, especially from your elevated mind state, man? What is it like being? Because you know, I look at it sometimes. I'm down there with y'all sometimes, and I'm like, man, this is troubling. This is troubling. This is
It's
troubling.
scary out here, man. It's scary. I tell all my homeboys now, like, man, if you feel like you got you one, man, you hold on to that one, you know, because it seemed like it's a lot out here, but it really isn't, you know what I'm saying? And whatever you think is out here, you could probably get within your relationship as well. You just ain't put the work in for it, you know.
Let me tell you something, bro. I was, like I said, I've said many times on this show, I was probably in my late 30s before somebody said what you just said to me. If you got a good one, hold on to her. I had never heard that. Not a man has shared that with me.
Right.
And so I'm really glad to hear that you got that logic already, man.
Absolutely.
Man, just speaking, we all about to, it's time for us to, step to the altar because the goddess has stepped in the room, and you know how that goes. And we just
blessed us.
I'm so glad you could join us, Miss Athena. Welcome Athena to the show, y'all. She's a little late, but she's here.
Listen, I had to get to the money, honey. I had to get to the money. That's why, y'all, we have to work. Y'all requiring us to work. So, I had to do that before I showed up,
Go.
The gender war has started.
Make sure the bills stay paid. Make sure the lights stay on. Because
and so I thought it was important to have you in this conversation because you are very knowledgeable and you have a lot of strong opinions about some of these topics. But I wanted to ask you, what I asked everybody on the panel, because you just came right on time. It's your turn. When you hear unity for Black men and women, like, what does that mean to you?
Oh, Lord. Why you always have to ask these deep therapy questions, Joe? I'm like, man, I have to give my feelings now. I have to think, man.
Yeah, I gotta get you out. I gotta get you out that after
Speak on it. Speak on it.
Get you out of that mindset and come down here and have a nuanced conversation.
So we don't have nuanced conversation after that. Don't we put after that?
You know how it goes. You know how it goes. Please don't act like that.
Listen, okay, so when I think of unity for Black people, I think of marriage. I think of responsibility. I think of accountability. I think about all the things that we seem to be running away from. Seem to be running away from. And when it comes to these relationships, it's just a lack of accountability across the board on both sides. And I think that we have reached hopefully a zenith, because I'm like, how much further can this go, right? How much further can this go? But I really want us to get us to a point where there can be unity. But what I see and what the data is trending to show, because, Dr. George Fraser said, I forgot what date it is, but in in a decade or so, the marriage rate is going to drop from 34% to 16%. And what we know and understand with that is without marriage and unity and being able to stay together, the outcomes for children go down, the outcomes for generational wealth go down, the outcomes for mental health go down, because even from a scientific perspective, your partner, your spouse helps to regulate your mood, helps to regulate if you're in a peaceful situation. I think of when you leave and go out to the world it's like a zoo. It's like, Walking Dead out there. It's like, you leave in the world, it could be like all kind of nonsense coming out. You should be able to have a place of peace. But also I think that we forget in the midst of capitalism that at the end of the day, we are all human beings. And that doesn't mean that we are default or we have these emotional needs that need to be met regardless. And I feel like a lot of us aren't getting our emotional needs met because these relationships are failing. Now, it's a multi-layered issue, obviously, right? If Constance was here, she'd scream white domination, right? But outside of that, I think there is a lack of life skills that we as a community, whatever the issue is, whether it was the white domination or your parents or your childhood or whatever, a lot of us as adults did not get the life skills of communication, of conflict resolution, of emotional regulation, all these things that help to contribute to a healthy, nurturing relationship to keep these relationships together.
Mm-hmm.
You have to to copy Big Mac, Machiavelli. You have to be an adult to and sacrifice and regulate in order to make these relationships work. And I think that's a huge part of why we're in this situation. And I hope we can get back to the unity because, we deserve to love on each other.
Yeah.
Now, we might, because Trump gathering up everybody, ICE going to grab everything. So, Ling Ling and Marisol and Rosalinda and, all these girls are being sent back home. So,
Right.
the black men might just have to, come on back home because there might be less
Or,
arroz
Here we
con
go.
pollo and
not
soy
even that.
sauce.
Listen, we're not doing that tonight, man.
We're not doing what I'm
Here we
just
go.
saying.
attacking
I'm
either
just saying,
gender, neither one.
it might
Look, Joe,
help.
I'm staying calm, Joe. I'm staying
No,
calm.
we're not doing that tonight. We are not
It might
contributing to the
help
gender
with the
wars.
unity,
We're
Erica.
not
It might
We're
help.
not contributing to the gender wars in any way tonight. We having conversations.
I'm
understand what
not
you're saying.
contributing. I'm putting in a political perspective that might actually have a positive contribution towards the issue.
Yeah, but you took a shot.
Did I take a shot? Panel, did I take a shot? Do you agree with Joe? Did I take a shot?
I'm staying calm.
Yo no say.
You know what I'm saying?
You definitely took a shot. Exactly. There's Erica. But a lot of what Athena said as always is accurate. And when you're talking about where we're at now as far as like valuing marriage, valuing relationship, do you think that some of these gender war conversations are devaluing how people look at being married or having a spouse, or is it all about capitalism now? Like everybody's got to be economically or equally yoked in that way economically for us to even get together.
I think people just don't know how to love. And because of that, a lot of people don't know how to be loved. In order to love, you have to know how to be loved. In order to give love, you have to know how to receive love. So I will paint this. Let me paint a picture for you. Um, I saw something today, and I don't know how I was able to create this in my mind, but it really resonated with me, especially with today's topic. I saw a picture of a girl, and she was running behind an abusive boyfriend. But then in that same shot, you could see in her mind's eye of how she ran behind her father when he left her mother.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what that cycle continues, is how you have a lot of women, they don't know how to love. They're just running after the love. They're running after the love because in order to know how to give that love, you would have received it. But she's just used to running behind the man. The daughters run behind the fathers more so than the mother runs behind the baby's father. It's the daughters that are running behind the father. So with women, it's almost like these young girls are looking for that need to be met, but they don't know what needs to be met. It's like having the taste for something, but you're saying you're hungry, but you're not really hungry. You just want something. You don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Because you never had it. But there is a yearning there. There's a need to be met, but you don't quite know what it is. And that's what it is with a lot of these women. So yes, they want a top tier man. They want him to spend money on this. They want him to give her $200, $300, $400 for lunch. Hey, I'd like that too. But in the reality is, like, sis, you ain't got two pennies to rub together. You
Right.
can't even get your own self that $300, $400 lunch. And what are you gonna do for him? I don't have a problem. Listen, I love to receive, but there is nothing in this world better than being able to love on the man that's loving you.
Yeah.
Oh, I
There's
love
nothing
that
better
energy.
there is nothing in this world better
Preach.
than loving on the person that's loving you.
Yeah.
Preach on it.
That feels better than actually getting the love of giving that love, to see them light up like, whoa, you can get me there. Whoa, you know me that well. Whoa, you remembered what I said. So I really think it goes back to that small basic thing of that four-letter word, knowing how to love, knowing how to give love, and knowing how to receive love.
Mm. Yeah, you said a word for that right there, Erica. And
Erica, my
True.
chest feel a little
you gotta, you know what I mean?
soft right now. I'm like, ooh, y'all trying to make me cry on this public stage right now.
Where the violins at? Where the
Leaning
violins?
on y'all
Lord.
because, you know, I've been in a committed marriage since I was in my 20s. So, you know, I really don't know much different than what I've experienced. So, like I said, when these gender wars were developing, like in the last 10 years or so, I don't know if they've been going on longer than that, but you know, you see the rise. You know, you saw the rise of someone like Kevin Samuels and things like that, and people start going back and forth, talking about, you know, well, you need to have this, this, and this in order to enter this relationship. Okay, well, you also need to be this here, here, and near, and do this, this, and this in order to be in this relationship. And I just don't see a lot of good examples of what Erica's talking about. Um, but I'm gonna ask you, Khalil, man. You know, you 24, man. You already in a committed relationship and starting a young family, man. Like, where did you get the inspiration to do that, or is that just something that you know developed inside of you naturally?
Yeah, nah, I think kind of just touching up on what Erica said, everything is with anything, I feel like you need to see it first to be able to do it. You know, whether it's getting love, whether it's giving love, whatever the case may be, I feel like you got to see it in order to know how to do it. And like I said, man, I see my grandparents. My grandparents raised me. So watching them all my life for, you know, the past 15 years or so, you know, and just seeing how they move together as a unit and as one, just kind of gave me that guidance and gave me that path on what I should be, you know, what I want in my relationship, how I should move as a man, how I listen to my woman, how I treat my woman, you know, all of those things. I definitely get inspiration from my grandparents and just a couple male figures that I know in my life as well. You know, my father-in-law, he's been together with his wife since high school. So, you know, they've worked through so many things that I've seen them go through and be able to bounce back from and come out 10 times stronger. So
Yeah.
that's where I get my inspiration, man. I just kind of know what's right from what's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Machiavelli, man, it's getting harder to function out here economically. Like it's really tight on everybody. And I know, you know, single people are struggling and even married people are struggling, and economics are playing a big role in how some of these men and women are interacting with each other. What role do you think, you know, economic struggles play in the gender divide in the Black community?
I mean, honestly,
Let me lead
economics
in for
is
this.
playing. Say that. What you say?
I said, let me lead in for this.
Right, because you already know what I'm about to say. But economics play a major, a huge factor in the relationships that we have coming together. Because you know, I mean, you could go way back when you know they kicked the man out the home, and the woman decided to you know be in the Section 8 housing, you know, without the man. You know, the government played a major part in that by giving them money as an incentive to separate us and get us out the home. And as that trickled down, you know, as women became, you know, more independent down the way, and you know, the mindset changed. So the money changed the mindset. And when the money started changing the mindsets looked down, the mindset of the woman looked down upon the man. Like, oh, I don't need you now to provide. I don't need no man. I don't need anything from you because hey, I got this government money over here. I could go do all these social programs. Now I could go get degreed up and I could get, you know, ahead. And while we are being held down, you know, through with society, the men and being incarcerated with all the rules and things angle against us. So now you kind of fast forward. Now you know they don't. That's the mentality that's been instilled through them through other generations. And like the young man said, you know, on the panel, you know, he looked at his grandparents and he's looking at them, but inside his home, compared to outside his home, it's a totally different world. So the money been driving that, and now a man got to have almost $1 million or at least six figures, to even be considered a decent guy, a decent provider. And where in other communities are they doing that so far as that goes? So the money is playing a major part now. A man got to come into a situation, pay 100% of the bills, pay 100% of for the kids, pay 100% for himself, and then he gets home, and that doesn't equate to what he gets when he lay his head down in his own home. And now the women, and they see one, and with social media, and I know we're probably getting into this, social media just amplifies that. I mean, just totally amplifies that by a million times. Now everybody want to be like Miss Jones, because Miss Jones looked up and got a great guy that's doing that. So
I wanna jump on one point that you said, and I'm gonna ask Athena a question. First, can we all agree that systematically, the man was removed from the home, historically removed from the home due to racism and because of racism? Is that something we are in disagreement about? Like, that happened, right? Anybody disagree with that? No or yes?
I mean, that's well documented. So
I'm just asking. I'm wondering because I really want to know, asking a real question, especially for you, Thena and Erica. Like, historically, first of all, tell me, do you agree? If that's accurate historically, and two, what does that do to the mind? Because I think we need to understand what that does over time to the mindset of a woman, especially a woman who is self-made, independent. And this, I mean, there's no question it had to happen. We don't want to blame a woman for having to do the things that she had to do in order to survive. I mean, these things happen. And because they happen, now we're in a divide. And instead of blaming the real culprit, which is systematic racism, we pointing a finger back and forth at each other. But it's important, I think, for men to understand what that does over time to the mindset of a woman. And if I'm off in any way, I want y'all to correct me, okay? But I'm gonna come to you in a second, Erica. But I'm gonna go to Athena first, and I'm gonna go to Erica. Is that cool? Okay.
Tell the truth. Tell the truth.
I will acknowledge that there is some racial and systematic white domination in America that has contributed to the Black men not being able to stay in the homes with the women. I will say that.
Okay. What does it do over time to the mindset of a woman, especially a woman like yourself who is self-made, educated, and well put together?
See, and when I come on these shows, I always say that my experience, doesn't align with what has happened. So my upbringing, and you were talking about your grandparents, Khalil, and looking up to them. I come from a third world country where I had family members that had dirt floor and zinc roofs.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I grew up with a type of, not only did I immigrate with my family, starting from the bottom here with no government help, because we did it legally, no government help. My parents were able to get into their professional careers and attain an upper middle class lifestyle in Palm Beach from the bottom, right? I came here, I only had 2 suitcases full of clothes. I can't relate to, even though I understand it, I can't relate to being complacent with poverty and not fulfilling duties and obligations. So when we're having conversations about, the men were being kicked out of the home because of welfare and they couldn't provide because the man couldn't stay while they're all collecting welfare. I grew up with a kind of father that did everything. That at one point he had, that Jamaican stereotype, 3 different jobs, all different kind of businesses, made ends meet, had a plan for our family. Even us as kids, we're very close in age. We were all told we had to get scholarships to go to school, and that's what we did.
Okay.
To help my parents. So
even
though my whole point is that even though these policies are in place and it affects everyone, right, negatively, and it did do damage to our community, and I get flack for this. I always say, all right, the next part of the conversation needed to be what prevented them from meeting that obligation, because regardless, you had to do it.
Okay, I get it. So maybe I was unfair in asking you that question. I didn't, you have a different experience. And I hear you and I hear Big Mac and I kind of hear y'all, it seems like seemingly like y'all are in opposition a little bit on this point. And if I'm wrong, please correct me. But I'm more wanting to know from the woman what what do we need to know?
The question. I'm sorry, I went off on a tangent, right? The question. How did
I just want to know, what do we need to know from a male perspective? I don't want to argue the point about, who needs to do what. I want to know, what do men need to know from a male perspective about the independent woman that they're missing and is causing the gender divide.
Oh, okay. My apologize. Okay, yes. So what I will say this, to take this into another area, most independent women don't want to be independent.
Okay.
Most independent women are independent by circumstance.
Okay, that's what I want to know.
Right. How on a deeper level, what's not being discussed, and I don't know if because it's hard to have, this show is called Vulnerability is the New Sexy. It's hard to be vulnerable sometimes as a Black woman because, sometimes you just feel overlooked or nobody cares, or that, they complain, the swords, the bullets come out for you when you be vulnerable sometimes. Sometimes you end up looking like Swiss cheese when you're vulnerable.
Okay.
There's a feeling of disappointment and sadness and you feel abandoned in a way that the men aren't meeting you where you're at. Like you feel like I did all this work, especially the independent ones are working real hard. You feel like you did all this work to build yourself up. You did all this work to make yourself a good person, to put yourself through school, to get these type of jobs, to take care of yourself. And with the expectation that as much as I make myself a good woman, that there will be men available to me that will honor and receive that and meet me at my level. And the reality of that, because of the oppression that we are discussing, is that is not the case. While you see your peers, Ling Ling and Marisol, riding off into the distance, sometimes with your own men, and you feel abandoned, you really feel hurt, to be honest with you. And it's disguised as sometimes the vitriol and the venom that comes out. But it's really us feeling sad and abandoned and not appreciated.
From women? Vitriol from women or from?
No, sometimes when the women, I'm talking about the women, when we're on these spaces saying these things and cussing y'all out.
It looks like vitriol.
It comes out that way, but it's really
frustration.
It's frustration, it's anger, it's hurt and disappointment.
Okay.
And you feel unloved.
Okay.
To be honest with you.
Thank you, Athena. I know you said it's hard to be vulnerable, but you were very vulnerable right there. And I greatly appreciate it. That's what I need men to hear. I need men to hear and understand that, because that is real. That is lived experience. That's not, we can't argue with your lived experience. We can't argue with the way that you feel. And anytime that we come into a situation where we are coming from different genders and different demographics, we like to try to argue it with someone's lived experience and someone's feelings. And if you address it in a way as this is my lived experience and I feel this way when this happens, and I'm saying that for even couples that are together, you can't argue with somebody's feelings. And it's very important for us to take in what Athena just said. And I hope that, a lot of brothers in the chat did. Erica, you wanted to add to that? I want to give you the opportunity to do that.
I did. Because there is a myth about the independent Black woman as if
Mm-hmm.
she's a superhero,
Mm-hmm.
when technically she's not really the independent Black woman. She's a functioning adult. She's paying rent. She's putting food in the refrigerator. She's putting gas in her car. She's got to make the car payment or they'll come and take it. The
Mm-hmm.
car, unfortunately, needs to be insured, and that usually costs more than the actual payment. She has to pay that. It's called functioning adult. And I don't know where this term, independent Black woman, strong, independent Black woman.
Let's talk about it.
No, she's a functioning adult. And many men, not all, don't get me wrong, many men see that as an opportunity to be taken care of when they're in a bad way. When they're in a bad way. Now, it comes off as, oh, I want to love you. I want to be with you. I want to build with you. No, he needs a home. He wants to be taken care of. He needs a home. This is usually the season when it's cold outside. And then he comes in, gets in that home, and mooches and leeches onto that
Well,
functioning
before we go into
adult.
that, I want you to go back a couple steps and talk
Okay.
about how problematic it is, the term strong Black women. I really want you to dig down on that and talk
It
about
is
problematic.
it's problematic because it's almost as if we've become not even a superhero but a villain in the in a superhero story. We've been become villainized because we're functioning adults. We've been left to rear children alone. We've been left to have to work 2, 3, and 4 jobs. We've been left to, oh, you want that promotion on the job, or you want to make more money, you want to go from 50,000 to 100,000, you're going to have to get that degree. So she has to make a decision. Well, I'm going to go back to school, get these student loans so I can make 6 figures. I'm tired of paying rent. I want a home. I'm tired of having to just take road trips to drive down south. I really want to take my kids on an airplane and take them on a trip, or take myself on a trip, or go international. I mean, I don't know why it is that Black women get labeled with strong and independent, and every other woman on planet Earth gets an applause, but we get labeled.
Okay.
All other women get applause. Oh, look
Yeah.
at her. Oh, she's the first woman to do so and so. She's the first woman to do XYZ. Black women, yeah, she's strong and independent.
Yeah.
It's like, well, why isn't she just a functioning adult? And where is her applause? Just a thought.
So no, what I'm hearing you say is that survival is what it is and what it has been, and
We've been left to survive on our
labeling it as
own.
strong is almost devaluing or invalidating the experience. Um, because we're just doing what you have to do, and
Well, Athena tapped on it, honestly, because it can be when people see that you're strong and you're independent, nobody checks on you. You got it. It is
okay.
the loneliest experience in the world. She all right, she got it. Oh, she makes 6 figures. She got it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she driving that brand new car. She got a Maserati. She got it.
Yeah.
Or you become the other, or you become so strong and independent that now you can actually pick up the burden of everybody else because you got it.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to interject. I'm scrolling in my
You
seat
do that,
over
Big
here.
Mac. I want to show something, and then I want to come back on the other side and talk about it. I'm gonna start with you and then Khalil, if that's all right. Yeah. Yeah, this comment right here. What I'm about to show, the video I show next is going to lead right into that conversation. So Here we go.
We hear women come up and talk about how successful they are and how intimidated men are, and they never say a word about their character. And I just can't help but think about how turned off women get when men lead with money and lead with accomplishment and end up having nothing but unavailability and coldness and lack of emotional development, because that unfortunately is what it takes to succeed in certain career fields. You can look it up. And for some reason, women think that the success that they've amassed has somehow happened without them becoming devoid of a lot of the personality and relationships that men are devoid of. And they flex their accomplishments and money the same way men do. And somehow we make it different every time. Every time. No disrespect to you, but you didn't say about being a good woman. Nothing.
Why
You didn't say no. Fuck all that, bro. Didn't say nothing about. This is about a larger point. This is not about her as an individual. We don't hear I'm successful, I got my degree, and I've been in therapy the last 3 years working out my issues. I just bought a house, and I also identified my childhood trauma and it took inventory over my baggage, and I got it out the way. Oh, also I'm loyal. My time management is on point. I do what I say I'm gonna do. I'm considerate. We never hear any of it. What I hear is when say that y'all act like. When men say that y'all have turned into alphas, what we're talking about is the worst parts of manhood. Y'all have taken it on. Now, the problem with men is that we won't admit that those are the worst parts of us too. But shorty, y'all have taken the worst parts of what it means to be successful, and y'all wear that like a badge. Look at what it's done to us. If you need an example of what it looks like to only live in your accomplishments, look at the black men around you. You in a city full of them. Look at how devoid they are. Look at what it took them to get to where they are. Look at how underdeveloped some of them are emotionally. This is what you want? Is this what we're going to do, to let accomplishments be band-aids for that?
So Big Mac, I want you to say what you're going to say and also address that video, if you could.
Well, that video kind of said everything I was going to hit on. But to Erica, who are the women that call themselves queens? Who are the women that call themselves strong and independent? Who are the women that say I don't need a man? Who are the women that wear shirts, independent, strong black woman, who have all these monikers and all these names and quotes and sayings, in the community? I mean, so we're not trying to make you seem, force you to be men. You doing that to yourself. That's
Okay,
y'all.
no, wait, let me interject really quickly.
Yeah.
As when I say I don't speak for all men,
Right.
all men aren't there. I can't speak on behalf of why some of those women do that. I'm talking about myself. I'm talking about other
Right.
women that I know, my immediate circle.
Right.
I can't speak for why other women would want to do that or wear those labels proud.
Right.
It's a burden to me to be
And
labeled.
go ahead.
No, to be labeled as that because they see a room full of black women and they go, oh, it's a group full of strong black women. I need, I want to break too.
Right.
I want to break like all the others. I want a round of applause as well. I need a break too.
Let me cut in on both of y'all, man. I hear everything that all y'all are saying, and I really feel like the purpose of what I was trying to do here tonight might have failed. And I'm just being honest and I'm being vulnerable right now, saying that it wasn't my intention to like go into a back and forth of any kind about black men and women, who's right and who's wrong. I really wanted to gain understanding. I know personally that black women face a unique set of challenges. I also know that black men face a unique set of challenges, and there's no actual way that anyone could step into anyone who is not a black man could step into a space. Anyone who is not a black woman could step into a space and say that they understand what the other one is going through. So my purpose for tonight was to open a conversation about those unique experiences and gain some understanding. I didn't want to argue at all about, either one of these situations. You know what I mean? You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, it's not an argument, but we do have to shed some light on and have the open conversation so we can realize, what each other points are and what are we pointing out and what are we looking at as me as a man and Erica as a woman. So it was, I just want to make sure that she don't think men are putting that place in that expectation on you all. Women are putting that expectation on themselves. So that's what I wanted to point out. And of course, it's always going to be a minority, but they scream the loudest from the mountaintop. So that's what's being projected out there. But we do have to have the deep conversation and have to have a real conversation.
But the part of that conversation, you know, it's like I don't want to. We know those things is happening, Big Mac. Like I'm not even, and Erica knows those things is happening, and all the things that Erica's talking about, we know, and Athena, we know these things are happening. You know what I mean? And that's who we're trying to combat. Like the whole purpose of the first video I shown was to eliminate that kind of talk so we can have a conversation about, you know, why you feel that way. I mean, we know that there are women who, you know, I wanted to understand. That's why I asked Erica, intentionally asked her, why is it problematic to be called a strong Black woman? And I wanted her to understand that. And we know that there are women who, you know, play these anthems and wear these shirts and we know that those things are happening. But why do they feel that way? You know, why is that happening? And men feel,
but you know, for some women, it feels like a badge of honor to be called a strong Black woman. Like not all women feel the way I do. Some women feel like it's a huge badge of honor, and they walk around and they wear it proudly. But they don't. Well, many take on, you know, they take on burdens because of it, because now they feel as if they have to live up to a standard of, you know, like I'm the strong Black woman. And then people will actually start leeching and climbing on top of your back to get that free ride because you're the one that said you're willing to be the mule for everybody. And I'm just not willing to do that. I am not that strong Black woman.
I get that. But I mean, like I said, like we know those things are happening. Like,
but that ties
set the stage. Like we being reluctant to say, like it's some type of you know, hurdle or challenge to say that systematic racism has put us in this place. Like that's a thing that happened. We should all be quickly in agreement about that. Or I got the wrong crowd. You know what I mean? Like this happened, and then we are divided for many reasons. You know what I mean? And it doesn't ultimately, it doesn't matter why. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter why. The point is, divided we fall.
It happened.
Correct. I think the reason, or at least let me speak for myself. I can't speak for the group. I think part of the issue with that, or part of the issue I have sometimes, is like, yes, there are things that are holding us back, but how much of that is like a mental crutch for us as a people to keep holding on to that versus focusing on being solution oriented and being an adult, and have to say, okay, yes, I'm gonna have to do 3 more steps because of this, but I'm gonna need to start doing the 3 more steps anyway, because what am I gonna do? Am I just gonna let it be?
So like, I'm gonna let you come in a minute, Khalil. I'm a therapist, right? So what you're saying is we're gonna be solution focused and address the solutions. But because I'm a therapist, I always have to get to the root of the problem first. So I don't disagree with you. I know that we have to, you know, not use this as what you consider a mental crutch. But my point was to address the root cause of some of this gender divide and then move towards a solution, which I really think that you have a lot of great ideas about how to help. But as we discussed before in private, the delivery sometimes is like, okay, well, we're not going to get to the, we're not going to hear the solution because some people are not, I don't know, able to grab on to what you're saying. I can, but it's important to me to deliver to the masses. You know, this is my purpose. What are you going to say, Brother Khalil? I don't mean to, you ain't said in a while, man.
Nah, I wasn't gonna say nothing, Coach. I was listening to what Athena had said. I was agreeing with what she said.
Yeah. And I do acknowledge all of that. And that's why I did talk about the emotional aspect that doesn't get a lot of light, is because as a woman, you grow up, you have in your mind that there is going to be a man that can support you.
Yeah.
Right? There's going to be a man, and part of that support is a man meeting you where you are. And to see, and especially to see because there are dusty men in all category. Let's be real. This is not exclusive to Black men, even though on social media it seems like it is. There's dusty white men and men of all races, right?
Mm-hmm.
To see your men, though, the men that look like you, to be struggling to what you consider to be basic. Erica was talking about functional adult, basic things. It hurts you inside too. It hurts you inside to see that as a collective, to see that your men are struggling in such mass. As a woman, you feel like, you know, there's pain there. And then outside of that, the ones who are doing halfway decent are not choosing to elevate their own, for whatever the reason is. We're not going to go into that, because maybe they have their own issues. I'm not here saying every Black woman shows off soft and lovely and encouraging either. That's not the case. However, it just seems the male counterpart to you that is supposed to show up and love you, and to not, as a collective, feel like you're receiving that is heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of Black women are heartbroken, to be honest with you. Now, we're defensive, so we're not going to come and say I'm heartbroken because we're seeing this and we're not getting reciprocated and all these other things. We're not going to say that. We're going to say we're frustrated and tired and we're not getting our needs met. And at the end of the day, relationships, regardless of like the business aspect and the romantic aspect and all these things, relationships are about getting needs met.
Yeah.
So we're not going to be able to stay together if all of our different needs aren't compatible and we're deficient in meeting each other's needs. And that's part of the problem.
And but everything comes back to the money at the end of the day. And I told a young lady this today, and let me try to tap into my emotions. I told a young lady this today. I said, money don't even matter to me. I could care less about money. You know, I know it's important to have it in life, and I know it's important to do things to take care of your family and so forth. But what matters the most is the love.
Right.
You know, I talk about 50-50, going 50-50. You was on that episode on my show, Joe, and we talked about going 50-50. 50-50 is just a mindset. I say 50-50 from the standpoint of if I care about you, truly care about you, I'm going to make sure I do everything to make your life easier. So if I have to do 50% of whatever you're doing, I'm not going to sit up there and let you just do all the housework and just let you struggle, and I'm just sitting there looking at you. If I care about you, the love is important. It's the love. And if you love me just as much as I love and care about you, you don't care what you paying. You don't care if you're paying 100 or 1,000% of anything, because you love that person and you want the best for them. And if we can't come into a relationship like that, and it's all about who paying what bill and who got the most money and who's in charge, then we're doomed for failure. And that's what's been happening. And just so for the emotions of men, you know, the one thing men feel is that we are very disrespected by our women. They don't show us the true respect that we need. They'll throw the money thing in your face. I mean, that doesn't necessarily happen to me per se, but just what I see in society and what they're pushing forward. And then, you know, you work hard, you do your best. Let's say I'm not making $100,000. Let's say I'm making 45,000, but I'm busting my tail to take care of my family and provide. And that's not good enough. The women make the men feel like that is not good enough. Like we got to turn into Superman, you know, rip off our shirt and then like the cape come out. But
you exaggerate right now.
No,
That's
but you know
very
what?
that's not an exaggeration. That's the
No,
fact.
I think what it is earlier on I talked about not knowing how to love, not knowing how to give love, how to receive love when you don't know what it feels like. So again, you may have a woman that you want to be with, that you want to give her all of these things that you want her to have, all of these experiences of you with you. However, she doesn't know how to receive that because she never saw her grandmother get it. She never saw her aunties get it. She never saw her mother get it. She never saw her sisters get it. So now that it's sitting in front of her, the first thing that she feels is, the key word in this conversation is vulnerable. And sometimes when you are vulnerable, you are open to harm.
And men feel the same way. I
And
mean,
men feel the same
yeah,
way.
feel the
But the
same way.
thing is, are we sitting down and having conversations when we meet? When you're getting into these romantic connections, or you're looking to date, you're looking to court, or you're vetting people, those conversations need to be had. We walk away from meeting people and going out knowing everything about them except for what matters. You start sleeping with a person before you know that there's trauma related to a sexual encounter that they've had before you know anything else. So it's so important. We are not even connecting on a cellular level, on a mental level, on an emotional level, but we're so quick to climb in bed to get that need met and judge a relationship off of that experience, when there was just a whole other chapter that we never even got to, and nobody ever even thought about it because nobody ever even got it at home.
Right.
Um,
I agree.
I'm about to wrap it up, man. I'm gonna ask you guys for what your main takeaways were from tonight, and then what message you want to convey or leave out with. So
Joe, are you upset?
I'm disappointed. Not
You're
so much.
disappointed?
I'm
Okay, let's talk about.
disappointed.
I feel like we need to unpack that.
This is not what I wanted. You know what I mean? I did not want I didn't want this, but it's okay. It's what
I
unfolded.
think this was
Yeah,
a
it's not
vulnerable,
going no.
I
It's
think
not
this
going
was a
back and forth.
vulnerable
Yeah,
conversation. I
this is a
think
vulnerable conversation. This is
I
how
get it.
men
I
feel.
get it. I get y'all enjoying it. It's not what I wanted. That's all I'm saying. So I hear what y'all saying, but it's just not what I wanted.
I mean,
It's
we all still love each other. Can we sing Kumbaya?
it's cool. Leo, let me ask you, man, what did you take away? Because you sat back and listened to most of it, man. What did you take away from tonight?
That is still a lot of work to be done on both sides, as far as just men and women understanding each other, coming to a middle ground. But overall, I think it was a pretty good call. I was interested in all the different takes on it. I kind of told you my perspective as far as what I thought was unity, and just kind of how I go about the gender wars, so on. So
Kalia, how did you feel when I talked about how the women feel, like our feelings about it? Was that new for you, or did you suspect that?
A little bit of both. I was interested in when you said most independent women don't want to be independent.
No.
And my only question to that was, where does that come from? As far as, because I know you said you were with your mother and your father coming from Jamaica. Is that correct? From Jamaica. So you obviously seen how a relationship should work and how things should go. So when you say, independent women don't want to be independent, I was just curious as to where that comes from. Is that from your past experiences? Is that from what you
I feel like that's the experience of women in general. Like,
it's the nature.
I feel like
it's
the
what's
independent
naturally in a
boss
woman.
chick, I think, to be honest with you, the independent woman boss chick thing is women trying to co-opt that so they don't have to really be honest about how much hard work it is and how much they hate it.
Right.
To be honest with you.
Okay.
It's almost like a defense mechanism, to be honest with you. Because to be honest with you, most women don't have the luxury of being with or dating men who could make them, that they can be dependent on, right?
Right.
Because the statistic, and I keep saying this all the time, only 6% of US Black adults make $100K or more, right? And with inflation and what Trump about to do with these tariffs, honey, that $100K about to look like 50. So so most women don't have that luxury. Now, my experience is different. I don't have this as an issue in my reality. So the men that I date tend to out earn me, or I don't have these financial quandaries in my romantic relationships. That, and the reason why I have such a high standard for men is because of the father that I had.
Mm-hmm.
So because of the father I have, like I still can't even, outside the whole immigrant thing, I still can't mentally accept certain things from men. Like I just can't connect to. So it kind of, but it helps me attract kind of man that I am compatible with, but because that's what I'm used to.
Right.
That's what I'm used to. My parents are going to celebrate 40 years this year, and my dad's turning 60 in March. So,
okay,
you know,
okay. I was just curious. That was all I was curious about. I think overall,
but I think, you know, in the midst of everything, I wanted to share the feelings part,
right?
Because I think that part gets lost in the sauce a lot when we're having these conversations. And because, like I said, Black women, outside of, because I know the men look at us like we're just complaining and we being frustrated and we just trying to be independent cat ladies and just you know, come with the dagger. But underneath all of that is a feeling of loneliness, a feeling of being abandoned, a feeling of not being appreciated, and just generally being unloved.
I guess that will be my biggest takeaway as well, Coach. Is just like Athena just said, and like Erica said earlier, you're not gonna know how to love or how to give that respect until you see it or you felt it before. So just as far as, you know, like I said, I've seen it with my grandparents. Athena's seen it with her parents. You have to be able to see it, feel it in order to give it. And so I would say that's probably definitely my biggest takeaway.
Understood. Thank you, brother. What about you, Erica?
My biggest takeaway was that it was nice to sit and have a open and vulnerable conversation about being vulnerable, about what is missing, about what it is that we all have experienced missing, and about what we hope to find and what we want to see. Even if it's not in our generation or in our lifetime, I feel like, especially with this young man here, there is a you're half my age. So my God, if we can't get it right over here in our 50s, I would love to see y'all get it right. 25 and 30, y'all get it right and take it back to where it was. Let's get back to those family reunions and looking forward to being married 25 and 30 years. And let's get back to that. It's not easy. Relationships are work. It's amazing how we can build relationships on our jobs and work out those differences. But when we come home, we can't work out those differences. And it's mind-boggling. So it was just nice to sit here and have this conversation and just be vulnerable and just say, like, hey, this is what I want, this is what I've seen. And no, I'm going to say it again, wear my heart on my sleeve and be transparent. I don't like to be considered that strong Black woman. I don't. I want that cute little round of applause like everybody else. And I want to go sit in my corner and just, just enjoy the flowers. I had to go out there and dig up some soil and plant some seeds and just enjoy. And hopefully one day I'll get to enjoy my garden with someone.
And Eric, I had a question as well. So do you kind of take offense to it when you are called or labeled that strong Black woman? Is that
I can't say I take offense to it, but I do correct it, because sometimes people will say things to test you, for starters, because it can be a play to feed the ego.
right?
It can to feed the ego and say, well, say, let me see if she's really feeling herself. I'm like, no. Listen, because if we're going to talk about strong, independent woman, my mother was divorced and raised 2 kids on her own and worked 3 jobs. That's the strong one.
Right.
I'm just blessed to have been on the receiving end
Gotcha.
of her efforts, of her grind. So no, I don't. I can't say I take offense to it, but I do correct it. And again, because it can be an ego thing. But yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
I got you. I was just curious because I've caught myself even projecting that to other women as well, saying strong Black woman. Maybe not strong Black woman, but strong woman.
But honestly, if you look at it, it's often said, and I can't say all the time, and I don't really want to bring this piece up, but I am going to say it because I don't really want to harp on it. But it's typically said to darker hued women.
Okay.
typically.
I agree. That's not usually how I mean to come off when I say it. I just say it simply because I believe not only men but Black women as well. We're all set behind. You know,
Yes.
we're behind the pack. You know,
We are behind.
and even with the policies and everything that they're trying to put in place today, they're trying to make us even further behind. And so when I do see a Black independent woman who is, you know, out here doing her stuff, she on her grind and she making it happen, that's my definition of
But you know,
that's what I mean.
We want to be baby girl princess.
Absolutely.
We want to be baby girl
we want to be
soft
sugars.
princess.
I feel it.
We want to be sugar.
I'm gonna definitely switch up my vocabulary when I'm speaking in that manner.
Sugar and spice and everything nice.
I'm passenger princess.
Erica, thank you so much for providing that understanding. I really appreciate
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Erica. I appreciate it. And Athena, thank y'all.
Yes, Athena as well. Athena, please tell me what your takeaways are from tonight.
Clearly, we need a long way to go to unity because it was hard for us to unite on this. This is Exhibit A. But I'm glad we were able to land a plane. I feel like when we get back to the realm of, you know, feeling and emotion, then everybody kind of calmed down, because I feel like it brought it back down to a human level, right? Brought it back down to a human level. But I think I think that what we also need to do, and we did in this conversation, even though you didn't really care for it too much, Joe, is that there's a level of accountability that we just can't overlook. That we just cannot. Especially now. Look, listen, I'm in South Florida. I just saw Senor Trump sent ICE rounding up people, things getting cut left and right. I had a consultation with a client recommending some federal program. I don't even know if it's going to exist tomorrow because it's federal backed, right? So we now more than ever, it's more apparent to me that only love can save us. And I just don't know, and I'm scared if there's enough love between us for that to happen. I'm actually not my personal life, because, you know, I'm gonna be baby girl soft princess to somebody now. But what I'm saying is, as a group, though, because the group does affect us on individual levels. Let's not be, you know, real about that. I'm scared for the future. I don't know.
What about you, Mr. Machiavelli?
I mean, what I take away from it, and I do have, I'm very optimistic about the future, and I think that we're going to come together eventually. But the root cause of it is definitely, because it's going to be a point in time where the money don't matter, and the money shouldn't matter. It's just our culture that we living in that promotes the money. And that's in our women's head, and that's in the men's head. So I think if we push aside the money or who's paying for what, the love is going to be there, because you're going to want to be around a person that you could deal with and grow old with. And you, just like you said, your parents been together for 40 years and so forth and so on. So in order to have that, the money won't become obsolete. It's not going to make a big difference. So I think we'll get there. And I know for myself personally, like I say, I don't care about money. I don't care about how much money you have and how much money I make. No, it's just because I value people. And I think we have to connect with one another more, because even like, let's say when you're growing up as a kid, you're 16, 13, 14, whatever years old, and you're growing up together, you got your friends. You're not around your friends really because they have money or don't have money, or you're not dating or have a high school crush because she has money or he has money. I mean, I mean, I've been out the game out of high school a while, but I'm pretty sure, you know, that you don't look at money per se at that age, because your mind is focused on where you at. And as you grow, I mean, I think everyone will come together, but the source to me, the solution to me is just push the money to the side and care about one another and respect one another, and the rest will take care of itself.
Well, listen, I even though I said I was disappointed, I obviously still appreciate every single one of y'all for taking the time tonight and coming on the show. You all are people that I respect, so that's why I asked you to be. I respect the way that y'all think, the way that y'all process information, and what y'all have to offer to this conversation. I think the things that you said were important. It's not. I want to be clear about that, and my purpose was kind of what happened in the last 10 or 15 minutes, which was seeking understanding. You know what I mean? Like that's where it went, and that's kind of where I wanted it to stay, and where I wanted it to land. And as you like Athena said, Exhibit A. You know what I mean? It's what I'm hearing is a lot of unheard voices, a lot of frustration, a lot of feeling misunderstood, and having to bring clarity to your point of view so that you can but that position is not unique to black men or black women. I think the both of us live in an existence where we are unheard and misunderstood, which is why conversations like this need to be had. You can go almost anywhere and view these conversations and watch, hey, you men need to do this, you women need to do this, and women go through this and us men go through that. But I wanted to see a conversation where we are seeking understanding and asking each other questions to gain that understanding, as opposed to just going out and saying or regurgitating our experiences over and over again. But I don't want to minimize those experiences. I think those things are important, and we're going to keep trying. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to keep trying to have conversations where we can be vulnerable and try to talk about the things that we need to talk about without elevating or without escalating in any kind of way. Not to say, these people went back. Nobody here went back and forth. We all friends. We all love each other, of course. So that's important to understand. But I hope I'm making sense on where I wanted to go and what I'm disappointed in. I'm not disappointed in these people. I just had a vision in my mind and it didn't execute. So that's me being honest with y'all, my friends and the audience, and letting y'all know, like, I had a vision in my mind and it didn't execute. That's all. So when I say that's what my goal was, that was my goal. And I don't feel like I executed this conversation was important, but it mattered, but it wasn't my goal for tonight, is all I'm saying.
But I think, honestly, to be honest, this is an ongoing conversation. This is not something that like once we get to that place, it might take maybe four or five more of these, and then we'll get to the place where we'll spend 3 hours asking each other questions. Because I think in order to really start asking those questions or asking any questions, you have to understand the other person's experiences. You have to understand why they behave a certain way, because people behave a certain way based upon the way they've been treated and based upon their experiences. So once we get into a groove of that, I mean, this is not the last time, I'm sure, that we'll gather again at the table to have these conversations. But I think as we move on, as we go on, I think we can get to that place where we can start really diving deeper, and those questions will come to the surface. But in order for those questions to come to the surface, we've got to be able to get deeper.
Part two. Yeah, we gotta have a
part two.
Somebody want a part two. But let me just say this though. But I think we're the perfect people to have the conversation because we have so much respect and love for one another.
That's what I call you.
So the questions that we're asking, we're not really. I know I'm not really asking them for myself, but I'm just trying to get the woman's perspective, and so she could just Erica and Athena could kind of contribute to that conversation to the audience, and have the audience also participate in getting those answers. But we have the utmost respect, but we do know we have to have an honest conversation. And some of the things we might ask, and like you said about Kevin Samuels, you spoke on something. Kevin Samuels had the best intentions for black women, but he just was asking the tough questions and kind of holding people to the fire per se with their answers. But he meant really well and he gave great advice so forth. So we have to ask tough questions that's going to ruffle feathers. I mean, that's just how it is in order to get a solution. And you're a therapist, so I mean, I know
Yeah,
you know
that's
that
what
for
it is,
sure.
man. I'm a therapist, man. I'm not trying to have these back and forth. You know what I mean? Like I'm really trying to gain understanding in a deeper way. Like it's really important to me to unify black people so we can elevate and move forward. And I see that there's some groundwork that needs to be done. So that's a miss on my part. But I'm gonna let the audience go. I'm gonna let y'all go. I really appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for joining me.
Appreciate you.
Next month, we're going to be doing a series on relationships all 4 Tuesdays in February. And I'm going to be dropping gems left and right on how to communicate and connect with your loved ones all February. I'm going to have other therapists on. I'm going to have couples on. My very own wife is going to be joining me. So y'all get to meet her. And, I really want y'all to join me. It's a 4-part series. It's called Let's Stay Together. And every single topic is going to put us in a space where we can connect and learn how to communicate and stay together with each other versus, separating and, going out and having bad communication and doing bad things. So join me for that. I appreciate y'all joining me tonight. Thank you very much. Hey, vulnerability is the new sexy. I'll see you next week.
I need to